Hello, guys. So I've had on the YouTube a request to do Virgil and Michael. So I'm gonna do an overview of Virgil. The only thing you might want to note is that a lot of players are complaining about him. So there's a big chance by the time you see this, something might have been changed to his skill set. Either his active or his spirit generation are two skills that people are really raging about. So let me get started. So first of all, he's one of a very specific class of players. He's a healer. And when I mean a healer, I mean he has an active that heals the entire team. And it's an active. That's a key word because a lot of players are going to have skills like that, but they're usually passives. So what you want to point out with him is, first of all, he's a backline defender, usually in the right back. Depending if you want to build him as a penetrator, I will talk about the builds after. He can be used as center back. And in certain original builds, in my eyes, he will be used as right mid because you really need the heal in some weird builds. So, now let's just talk about his skills to understand his setups. His skills are, first of all, Universal Oblivion, whose recover team high by 60% and action bar by 50%. The reason why this is valuable is, first, well, it heals the entire team, but that's not even the big deal. What's really good is the action bar by 50%. What does that mean? That means that half the bar of your players is going to be refilled. If you have any fast players, or players with action bar start effects or something similar to that, they could usually all be maxed out. So especially if you're running a Virgil, a Beth, a Metatron, anything like that, you're basically solving your problem. Before your ball even goes the very first time to the front line, your entire front line is going to have its action bar maxed out. So this is something really great. Then we have the second skill, aka the skill that no one ever maxes out. Increase attack power and max hype, 8%, 4%. This is honestly a joke. I mean, attack power 40%, max hype 20%. There's stones who do better than that. So it's really not a valuable one. It's extremely disappointing. And as you can see, I've maxed out every skill except this one. So it's not going to happen. Well, I mean, I'm going to give more points to it. At the end, my build is going to be 5-3, 5-5. But that's the one skill that'll be at the very end. Now, the third skill, who has been nerfed in the last patch, I think 1 month and a half ago. It used to be 45%. It's been reduced to 30%. I personally kind of liked that it was 45%. Just because like that, it means I didn't have to spend so much on increasing attack power of my defense line. But I mean, we can live with 15%. It isn't really his job to reduce max hype. That's not like what you want from a backliner. But it was still pretty good to get the ball out. 30% is still pretty nice, and if you throw some other totem or something, it can get pretty good very fast. So it's not that bad. But again, I prefer the 45%. And the skill that everyone honestly hates is this one. With an attack, recover 15% hype of allies within the position first. First is a key word here, because that means, and I'm going to explain on it, the first word is important for him. That means whenever he has the ball in backline, and he tries to penetrate, before you calculate the damage, he gets 15% back. If, for example, you were running a Scylla, an Isilla, any of those who have aces that are relevant to the max hype, it will actually give a much higher chance of it to activate. And not only that, but it's going to give 15% to the entire line. Being thrown in defense means he's going to heal your goalkeeper and all your defenders 15%. Who's actually really, really good. But if that skill wasn't enough, they're also going to give a 30% spirit for every ally within position. On average, in the backline, the goalkeeper is counted in this, you have 4 players, meaning for 3 times 4, 1.2. So you're going to have 1.2 spirit bars that are going to be recovered every time you penetrate. If you're one of those guys who really likes to have a full backline for that mega resistance with those 4 back players and the goalkeeper, it can go all the way to 1.5. That means half the spirit bar in a single penetration. And that's not even counting the fact that he's a leader, meaning he's also going to recover an extra 10% on top of that. So he's basically one of the best spirit generators in the game. So honestly, he's only really valuable for his 4th and 1st skill. So of course, as you've noticed, this is 2 bars. This can give around 1.2 bars. So 1.2 to 1.5 plus the 10, it's, let's say 1.6 to say a really good defense line. Meaning he can use his active and then penetrate, healing the backline 75% and basically paying back everything except for 0.4 of the cost of his active. Who's insane. So basically, these are the 2 skills why people hate him. Because combined, they allow him to always use this. And the availability is 15 minutes. I'm going to say in PvP, he's usually going to use it once unless it's some really hardcore PvP. So it's not that bad, but it's still very frustrating for anyone on the other side when you use that. And it can allow you to turn the tables in PvP and PvE. In PvE more than PvP, as you know that in PvP, hype is now nerfed at 50%. At some point it was a nerf, then 75, now it's back to 50. So it's going to be 30% heal. Now Spirit Stone wise, excuse the fact that this is sadly a 5-star. They've been really hard to find because my team is basically all light. And I'm going to give them to my frontline players, to my midline players, before I give them to a backline player that I'm not actually using to steal the ball. So I'm going to say when you're running a Virgil, there is more than one build. My personal build is the survival build. I don't believe that a Virgil is ever going to be powerful. So I'm going under the ideal that if he can be powerful, he might as well weaken the enemy. So in linkage to the Forbidden Power, decreasing the enemy max height by 30%, I also use an Endless Burning Matter, decreasing their attack power by 20 and increasing the damage that the enemies within the position receive by 20. Meaning they have less life, they have less power, and they receive more damage. All that compliance makes an extremely squishy front line and makes them less powerful. So even shooting on the goalkeeper, this is a great stone. So if you can, throw it on him. Use it. It's great. You want to at least have one of these in your backline at all times. You don't care what your element is. It's a great stone. And it's a line buff, so it's going to affect the entire line. Now, this is one of the main builds. The idea is you want speed because you want him that at any point in time possible, he uses his active. And to use his active, he needs to use his other thing, that's penetration, healing the line. So heal the line, then use active. That's the idea. So you want him to be fast. The second thing is you want him to not be stolen upon and to have a chance, and I'm insisting on the word chance, to out-reflex an opponent. Again, his reflex is not that great. Even with 2 reflex stones, it's about 1,300. So it's not really for that we're doing it, but it can work. I personally wouldn't advise removing the reflex stones for something else because then he will be stolen upon. With these, at least you're sure he keeps the ball. That's the idea. Now, there are 2 other builds that are possible for a Virgil. The second build would be replacing the Endless Burning Matter with a Pterodox Blood. Pterodox Blood is what my Vonchi is running. So it is this stone. Pterodox Blood, increase attack power by 25% for 20 minutes with a critical hit and increase critical rate. So the idea is basically just to give him more power and to feed him the ball constantly. So I'm personally not a fan of that because, again, it requires a critical rate and he has nothing boosting crit. If the opponent has anything that lowers crit or something against crit or even a high good crit defense, they might not even activate. And even if it activates, it's only at 25%. So in my eyes, it's really not that great compared to something that can heal the entire line, that can defend the entire line, and that can weaken the enemy. So again, I'm going to vote Pterodox Blood. But if you, another stone, there are 3 stones again, as I said, The last one is going to be, how is it called again? It's called Metatron's Will. So I'm just going to show one again. Again, I have all of these stones because these are my elements, so this is completely normal. Metatron's Will, it recovers action bar and increased crit rate. So you want this for two reasons. First, action bar, meaning again, he can use his active more. And it's going to increase critical rate, which means he's going to start doing damage. Slowly, but it's going to start, and he's going to slowly get to the critting point. Again, he has nothing boosting his crit, so that only means an increase in 50% of his damage. You can actually work on some passives here. You see 7% of passives on the stones, but it's really not worth it. And you shouldn't look at giving him crit and giving him a dark crit damage, because again, he heals 15%. There's nothing that's going to be more powerful than that. And how much do you honestly need a backline defender to heal? What's really nice with him is his links. So what I'm going to say is he has 2 great links, and the rest are honestly mediocre. So the first one is this. Even in PvE, I barely ever find this. Maybe the goalkeeper. So yeah, that's not going to happen. The Nemesis chain, once in a while in PvE it could be nice, but even then, I mean, V-Bird is not even used that much in PvP either. So that's why I didn't even tire myself scouting him when I saw him. I usually scout players just to complete chains, but he wasn't worth it. I did scout K and he was worth it, because K, since a few things have been changed in goalkeepers, he has been seriously strengthened. So, well, it can't hurt to have K on the other team and increase reflex and action speed. Again, never hurts, and I mean, it's a free bonus. And the reason why I always say Virgil needs an Isilla is because it increases hype and defense when placed on the same team. On top of it, Isilla is going to make him much more resistant with a skill that I'm still maxing out. So imagine that this is at 5. Ignore the fact that I somehow am not able to find any dupes of her, who is getting very frustrating. That she can reduce the inflicted damage on allies within the position by 30% during the first 20 minutes of a match. That means she's going to give him damage resist on top of what he has here, another 30%. So in my case, he's at 46% before counting any ace, before counting any buff, before counting any other line ability from the other 2 defenders. Who means he's got a pretty decent resistance. Even when he's Spanish, he's going to take too much damage. Again, he's not supposed to try to steal the ball from the shooter, because, well, let's be honest, they'll have insane dribble value. But from the point he gets the ball, or it's not a shoot in front of him, he's fine. Now, for his placement, as I was saying earlier, this is usually when you're going to place him, when you give him Endless Burning Matter, who was the very first one. If you give him a Pterodac's Blood, or if you give him a Metatron's Will, it's much more popular to put him center back, because the idea is that he's going to try a penetrate at the place of trying to be some sort of buffer. So again, it depends how you want to build him. Both of them are viable, and they work very well. Now, I talked to you about the right mid. It's going to be any of the 3 formations I described, as all 3 are actually pretty nice. This is very often coupled with a Metatron to start stacking the hype reduce, especially in PvE. It's very popular, and you can try to throw something else with hype reduce, and it can basically give you in front of you a line with what, like 300 life points, making it some sort of a little bit abusive. No one ever complains when it gets OP against PvE. In PvP, that will never work. You shouldn't even try it. The way the hype is calculated, it's just not going to work, because the hype totems are so much bigger than the decreased hype totems. It's not an option. They even did a big hype lowering nerf. Even Metatron got nerfed. So somehow she ended up with an insane reflex debuff now. So in a way, she gained something. It's kind of weird. So skin-wise, he does not have any special skins. These are his shapes. I personally would say the second one is pretty nice, and the third one is actually really nice. So I'm just staying with the third one. I honestly would like a special skin for him, but there isn't any. So I'm going to try give you a little example of gameplay with him. So it's not really going to be perfect because I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to send it to the back line. So I'm going to try act a little bit suicidal. So just be aware that this isn't how I actually play. So the best place to find someone who's going to force me to go to backline is going to be PvP. I'm going to guess a double S team should do it. What do they have? And that should be fine. That's okay. Actually, a pretty decent setup. So, let's go kamikaze. Okay, they started the ball. That's a good sign. So, meta versus meta war. I got the better one. Alright, so, yeah, that's not gonna work. I'm just gonna try suicide. No. Suicide, I said. Suicide! Okay, so now I'm just going to try to show what it does in backline. So, again, I'm just going to let them shoot first to see the actual value of having a Virgil. That's actually a pretty weak team. I'm not understanding how they got a double S rating. Yeah, that's very sad. Okay, so if you notice, for some reason, a lot of my line lost life. I'm not even getting why. Okay, so well, that's why you built him for reflex. So I'm just going to show, since if I penetrate, I'm not going to be able to show you his active skill, who's what I really wanted to show. I just want to point out, you see Malcolm's bar, he has basically 2%. So, and a lot of them already took damage, especially Metatron. By the way, this active can revive dead players. So if you're really screwed, you're in backline, everyone's dead, and there's Virgil on the goalkeeper, just use it. See, the Metatron was dead a few seconds ago, is already at 500. And then if you have some Metatron, of course, let her get attacked. You know, use a few recovery-like skills, and it's just always going to be a really decent game. So I'm still not understanding where his ranking's coming from. What was he ranked? I'm not getting it. Okay. And I got to work on my team. It's making me feel good about myself. Is that Jane even? Yeah, okay, easy. I'm gonna try to see if I can let him use his active. No, okay. I want just to show how it makes a difference. But again, I'm sure you noticed that at the beginning, basically all my frontline players were able to act. So that's the great advantage of having a Virgil in backline. And there's a bunch of players who are going to have similar skills. You could even throw a Genis in frontline, especially since the passer nerf has hit a lot of people. So playing with that is actually going to give you a huge advantage endgame-wise, mid-game-wise. Because the idea is you're striking more than the other guy. And the more you strike, well, the more damage you can deal before you can do anything. And now let's just see Grandpa Gene get killed by Vonchi. Bye-bye. Okay, so just to point out, Virgil can be used in rainbow teams, but he usually shines better in teams that are light-based. And he really needs an Ascilla. It's really a good combo, both of them. She really complements him. She gives him a link. She gives him the resistance he desperately needs. So if you can, get Ascilla, get him. If you're using K, he's not actually worth it as much. So I hope this has allowed people to understand how a Virgil works. And I hope this helps the person who gave me a request. And if anyone else has a request, just send me a message. I'm always down to try to do what I can. Some people I'm going to be able to do some really good gameplay with them, like Virgil. And some, it's going to be harder. So have a good day.